Hi class. Last week we talked about solving a quadratic by factoring. So we were given a quadratic equation. We set that equation equal to 0. We then factored the equation. We found two factors of -6 that added to 5. Then we took each factor and we set those factors equal to 0. And from there we solved for x. So x is what's known as our solution or our root, or it's also known as our x-intercept of our quadratic. So if I graph my quadratic, I can see that one of my solutions where x crosses, where the graph crosses the x-axis is at the point -6, 0, and my other solution occurs at the point 1, 0. So again, when we're solving a quadratic and we get the answer of x equals -6, that corresponds to the placement of a point on the graph where our quadratic crosses the x-axis. So we have one here and we have one here because we have a U-shaped curve for our quadratic. We sometimes will have one solution and sometimes we'll have no solution, but we'll talk about that tomorrow. So today what I want to talk about is let's work backwards. Let's say that we're given a graph. Here's a graph of a quadratic, and what we're going to do is we are going to write the equation given a graph. So step number 1, what we need to do is we need to identify our solutions. Where does my graph cross the x-axis? Well, it does so at these two places here. This looks like -1, 0, and this looks like -3, 0. So -3, 0, and this is -1, 0. So I write down those 2 points. After I write down those 2 points, I remember what I had done previously. Remember when I had x equals -6? Well, that corresponded to a factor of x plus 6. So this is what I'm going to do. For this problem here, I'm going to say x equals -3. And I'm also going to say x equals -1 because I have two solutions here. What I'm going to do now, this looks kind of weird, I'm going to add 3 to both sides. So I get x plus 3 is equal to, not goes away, 0. Okay? Over here, what am I going to do for my other solution? I'm going to add 1 to both sides. So I have x plus 1 equals 0. Okay, so let's go back to this example. Look. X plus 6 equals 0, x minus 1 equals 0. Well, this x plus 6 becomes one of the factors. X minus 1 becomes one of the factors. So here, one of my factors is x plus 3, and my other factor is x plus 1. Now let's set that equal to 0. Now remember, I'm going in reverse here. So what happens here? How did I get from this equation to a factored equation? Well, I factored it, so I have to unfactor it. What is unfactor? FOIL. I have to distribute. So this becomes x squared plus 1x plus 3x plus 3 equals 0. Combine my like terms and I get x squared plus 4x plus 3 equals 0, which makes my function, this is my function right here, f of x is equal to x squared plus 4x plus 3. That's my answer. This is the equation given a graph. Okay, so now that we know how to do that, let's just go through 2 different ways to look at this. So here we're given the x-intercepts. So what do? We say x equals -4, x equals 1. We're going to add 4 to both sides. So we get x plus 4 is equal to 0. subtract 1 from both sides, x minus 1 equals 0. This becomes one of my factors, and this becomes the other. So I write x plus 4 is equal, x plus 4, we already know it equals 0, times the other factor, x minus 1, that's equal to 0. We're going to FOIL, so x squared minus 1x plus 4x minus 4 equals 0. Combine like terms, x squared plus 3x plus, that's a minus, this is a minus, minus 4 equals 0. So my function is f of x is equal to x squared plus 3x minus 4. This is the function, or the equation of the function given the x-intercepts. Last case, given two solutions. So now I'm told that x is equal to 8, and I'm told that x is equal to 2. So how do I write factors? Subtract 8 from both sides. X minus 8 is equal to 0. Subtract 2 from both sides. X minus 2 is equal to 0. Here's one factor. Here's the second factor. X minus 8 times x minus 2 equals 0. FOIL. Combine like terms. Write our answer so it looks like a function. F of x is equal to x squared minus 10x plus 16. And you're done. Okay, so this is what you're going to do today. So hopefully you watch this entire video, and I'll give you some practice problems and an exit ticket. See ya.